Hello, I am Dr. K.K. Misra from R Classes. I welcome you all to my YouTube channel R Classes. In this video tutorial, today I will be talking about the different emergency provisions given in our Constitution. This video tutorial will be focusing on specifically national emergency. Now we'll try to understand what is emergency. A state of emergency in India refers to a period of governance that can be proclaimed by the President of India during certain crisis situations. Under the advice of the Cabinet of Ministers, the President can overrule many provisions of the Constitution, which guarantees fundamental rights to the citizens of India. The emergency provisions are contained in Part 18 of the Constitution of India from Article 352 to Article 360. These provisions enable the central government to meet any abnormal situation effectively. The rationality behind the incorporation is to safeguard the sovereignty, unity, integrity, and security of the country, the democratic political system, and the Constitution. The Constitution stipulates three types of emergencies. First, national emergency. Second, constitutional emergency, wherein President's rule and in fact comes under practice. And the third one is financial emergency. In this video tutorial, I would just be talking about national emergency. In the following two video tutorial, separately will be discussed constitutional and financial emergencies. Now, what is national emergency? National emergency can be declared on the basis of war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. The Constitution employs the expression proclamation of emergency to denote an emergency of this type. Now let us talk about on what grounds this emergency is declared. So, grounds of declaration. Under Article 352, the President can declare a national emergency when the security of India or a part of it is threatened by war or external aggression or armed rebellion. The President can declare a national emergency even before the actual occurrence of war or armed rebellion or external aggression. When a national emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression, it is known as external emergency. On the other hand, when it is declared on the grounds of armed rebellion, it is known as internal emergency. The term armed rebellion is inserted from the 44th Amendment. Before this term, it was known as internal disturbance. So, here is a point to be noted. Example, if India and Pakistan openly accept that they will use armed forces against each other, is simply a war. If there is no formal declaration that there will be armed forces used against a country, is external aggression. And if because of these two grounds an emergency is proclaimed as an external emergency. Let us have certain facts and figures. The 38th Amendment Act of 1975 made the declaration of national emergency immune to judicial review, but this provision was subsequently deleted by the 44th Amendment Act of 1978. In Minerva Mills case 1980, the Supreme Court held that national emergency can be challenged in the court on the ground of malafide or that the declaration was based on wholly extraneous and irrelevant facts. This also requires parliamentary approval, and what should be the duration, that part here I will be discussing. So, parliamentary approval and duration of national emergency. The proclamation of emergency must be approved by both the houses of parliament within 1 month from the date of its issue. However, if the proclamation of emergency is issued at a time when the Lok Sabha has been dissolved or the dissolution takes place during the period of 1 month without approving the proclamation, then the proclamation survives until 30 days from the first sitting of Lok Sabha after its reconstitution, provided the Rajya Sabha has in the meantime approved it. If approved by both the houses, the emergency continues for 6 months and can be extended to an indefinite period with an approval of the parliament for every 6 months. So here this point to be noted and kept in mind. Every resolution approving the proclamation of emergency or its continuance must be passed by either house of parliament by a special majority. Now we'll talk about revocation of proclamation. A proclamation of emergency may be revoked by the President at any time by a subsequent proclamation. Such proclamation does not require parliamentary approval. The emergency must be revoked if the Lok Sabha passes a resolution by a simple majority disapproving its continuation. Effects of national emergency. A proclamation of emergency has drastic and wide-ranging effects on the political system. These consequences can be grouped into different categories. Effects on the center-state relations. First, while a proclamation of emergency is in force, the normal fabric of the center-state relations undergoes a basic change. This can be studied under 3 heads. 1. Executive. Center becomes entitled to give executive directions to a state on any matter. Legislative. The parliament becomes empowered to make laws on any subject mentioned in the state list. The president can issue ordinances on state subjects also in this case if the parliament is not in session. The laws made on state subjects by the parliament become inoperative 6 months after the emergency has ceased to be in operation. Financial. The president can modify the constitutional distribution of revenues between the center and the states. Effect on the life of Lok Sabha and the State Assembly. While a proclamation of national emergency is in operation, the life of the Lok Sabha may be extended beyond the normal term for 1 year at a time. However, this extension cannot continue beyond a period of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. Similarly, the parliament may extend the normal tenure of a state legislative assembly by 1 year each time during a national emergency, subject to a maximum period of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. Effect on fundamental rights. Articles 358 and 359 describes the effect of a national emergency on the fundamental rights. These 2 provisions are explained below in the next slide. First, suspension of fundamental rights under Article 19. According to Article 358, when a proclamation of national emergency is made, the 6 fundamental rights under Article 19 are automatically suspended. Article 19 is automatically revived after the expiry of the emergency. The 44th Amendment Act laid out that Article 19 can only be suspended when the national emergency is laid on the grounds of war or external aggression and not in the case of armed rebellion. Here this point to be noted. Suspension of other fundamental rights. Under Article 359, the President is authorized to suspend by order the right to move any court for the enforcement of fundamental rights during a national emergency. Thus, remedial measures are suspended and not the fundamental rights. The suspension of enforcement relates to only those fundamental rights that are specified in the presidential order. The suspension could be for the period during the operation of emergency or for a shorter period. The order should be laid before each house of parliament for approval. The 44th Amendment Act mandates that the President cannot suspend the right to move the court for the enforcement of fundamental rights guaranteed by Article 20 and 21. Declarations made so far. This type of emergency has been proclaimed 3 times so far in 1962, 1971 and 1975. This is to be noted. The first proclamation of national emergency was issued in October 1962 on account of Chinese aggression in the NEFA and was in force till January 1968. The second proclamation of national emergency was made in December 1971 in the wake of the attack by Pakistan. Even when the emergency was in operation, the third proclamation of national emergency was made in June 1975. Both the second and third proclamations were revoked in March 1977. So this was all about this video tutorial. I hope that you have liked it, and if you have liked it, please do not forget to subscribe my YouTube channel or classes and press the bell button. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Best of luck.